The following program contains politically irreverent commentary. If you suffer from an exaggerated sense of self-importance, this show might not be right for you. Check with a PhD in PC, ASAP.
Speaking the truth when others hold their tongues. Wrestling for justice with left-wingers and crocodiles. Resisting the temptation to keep the peace at any price. The only talk show host who writes his own theme music, Randall Terry.
Welcome to today's program, friends. Our political masters continue to forge the chains that we will wear for generations. But don't worry, they're talking about padding the metal with entitlements. We've got a lot to talk about on today's program. Today's show brought to you in part by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, the USCCB. Don't worry if you haven't heard of them. Neither has the devil. And by the IRS and the 501c3 tax code, muzzling Christian churches for over a generation. I'll be right back after a quick word from my friend, Sir Reginald Bling. Just turn the thing on. I got something to say. I remember the days my grandpappy told me when a man could have his own fishing pole and fish for whatever kind of fish he wanted. Yeah, you teach a man how to fish, he won't go hungry. But now, the government says, no, give us your fishing pole. We might give it to you when we give you a license. And we'll tell you what kind of fish you can catch. But if you really want to be in tall cotton with Barack Hussein Obama, he'll give you a fish every day. You ain't even got to worry about fishing. Somebody else will do the fishing for you. Let me tell you something, people. You can have one fish a day for the rest of your life, and guess what? It's going to be carp. Yeah, who wants to eat carp every day when you could be fishing for bluegill and for trout and for smallmouth and largemouth bass, even a great muskellunge? People, when the government says they're going to give you a fish every day, it smells fishy to me. Listen, don't take the deal. Hello, friend. Welcome to today's program. Thank you very much for letting me be a part of your life. We have over 1 million viewers per month online. We're currently being seen on over 40 television stations from coast to coast. I consider it a great honor and privilege. Again, I want to apologize for broadcasting to you from in front of a green screen. What you see behind me is obviously not really where I am. I'm in front of a green screen because we are filming in a boiler room while we build our new studio. Andrew, show them a clip of the light grid that's being put in right now. Yeah, you see that? That's going to be where the lights hang for our stage, for our green screen, and for our incredible music room, all of which are now under construction. Pray for us that we are able to get this done expeditiously and frugally, because we don't have much money. All right. I want to talk to you today from my heart in such a way that I hope grips you, maybe shakes you a little bit, and causes you to ask some deep and fundamental questions about yourself, about the church, about what it means to stand for the truth in the public square at all costs. We are in a situation right now where the country is dying. I, as a talk show host, and frankly just because of the way I'm wired in my personality, I have a lot of discussions with people. I was at a farmer's market a couple of days ago talking with a man very frankly, and I said to him, for the first time in my entire adult life, I'm actually afraid for our country. I actually have genuine fear for where we are headed and the fact that we might not survive as a republic. I don't even know what it would mean for the republic to die. In other words, I can't say to you, this is what it would look like. All we can do is look at the end of the Grecian Empire, the end of the Roman Empire, the end of the British Empire, and other empires in between. And then we could have an idea of what our own demise would look like. But I fear that our demise will be far more violent because of the instability of our major cities. If we ever had some type of a real food shortage or a fuel shortage, we could have an outbreak of horrific violence. That aside, I want to talk to you about how we got into this mess. How did we get from being the wonder of the world for 200 years? How did we get from being the victors of World War II? How did we get from having the world base its economy on the dollar? All of the things that many of us are so proud of. How did we get from being the #1 nation to send out missionaries to the whole world? Just go down the list of ways in which America is incredibly unique. How did we go from being that nation to this? A nation where we've killed over 50 million of our own babies. A nation where one state after another embraces so-called homosexual marriage. A nation that has the largest debt in the history of the world. There has never been a nation in the history of the human race that is as far in debt as we are. How did we get to this place where our nation manufactures more pornography than all the nations of the world combined? How did we go from being the city on the hill to a cesspool in a swamp? Well, I'm going to come at this from an angle that is going to be as frank as it is painful. I submit to you that our demise is, for the most part, linked directly to the fear, to the cowardice, to the outright treachery of Christian leaders in the evangelical and the Roman Catholic world. Please, for a minute, those of you who are devout Catholics and don't believe that evangelicals and Protestants are in the church, please set that aside for a minute. Those of you who are evangelicals and Protestants and think that Catholics aren't saved, please set that aside for a minute. Just for one moment, accept this crazy notion that people who are baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit and believe that Jesus Christ is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, even though some are Catholic, some are Orthodox, and some are Protestant and very strange, please accept the notion that we're in the same baptismal boat, okay? The reason that we are in the mess that we are in today is for nearly one generation, most of our Christian leaders have chosen a path of silence and of comfort over a path of proclaiming the truth and open conflict with the enemies of the gospel. Perhaps the most prescient example of this that's right before us right now is the fact that in New York State, just a couple of weeks ago, the state legislature passed a bill, and the governor signed it, the Catholic governor, Governor Cuomo, signed a bill into law giving the right of homosexuals to be married. What was the response of the Catholic bishops? Let's just look at the Catholic bishops for a minute. Prior to the legislation passing, there were a few little quips, there were a few little protests that were coming out of their lips. After the bill passed, there was exactly one statement, 4 or 5 paragraphs long, that was as inane as it was irrelevant. It did not take them to task. It said, oh, we love our homosexual brothers and sisters, but we have to say that marriage is between a man and a woman. At this moment in our conflict, it is not enough to simply reaffirm our belief in Christian marriage. At that moment, what Archbishop Dolan, who by the way is also the head of the USCCB, what Archbishop Dolan should have done, and arguably what he is required to do biblically and according to the canons of the Catholic Church, what he should have done was he should have said, okay, here is the list of the members of the New York State Senate, the New York State Assembly, and Governor Cuomo. Here are the list of the names of those Catholic politicians who voted for homosexual marriage. All of these men and women are now hereby forbidden to present themselves at Mass for Holy Eucharist, for communion. He should have said, they have sinned against God and against marriage and against His church. by voting to legalize what is an abomination in the sight of God. By betraying the teachings of the church, of the Word of God, and of their faith, they have now made themselves anathema to the faith. They are now forbidden to present themselves for Holy Communion. Did they do that? No. They said nothing. Now, why is that? Think about it. This is an obligation of a Catholic bishop. Never mind the Protestant churches throughout the state of New York that also have these people coming to their congregations. This is an obligation to stand for the truth and to defend it in the public square. Why did they refuse to do it? Fear. Abject, servile fear. They don't want conflict. They don't want controversy. They don't want to appear intolerant. They don't want to appear divisive. Whatever their excuses are, I submit to you that number one, they are part and parcel of how we have gotten into this mess. That same scenario has played out for 40 years while most of our Christian leaders have been silent. But beyond the fact that it's part and parcel of the very fabric of treachery and cowardice that is a part of the garments that Christian clergy wear. Not all, but most. I submit to you that such silence, such abject servitude is a stench in the nostrils of God. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about what courage is, what it means to live out your faith in the public square. Don't go away.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. That explains a lot about why they'll be white.
Moments with Moses. And you shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up.
Welcome to the program, friend. Courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what's right in spite of your fears. And in my opinion, oftentimes courage is the chief virtue because courage is what propels the other virtues into action when they're needed. If you know what the right thing to do is and you don't have the courage to do it, well, what good is the knowledge of what is right? If you know what the right thing to say is, but you don't have the courage to open your mouth and proclaim the truth, what good is knowing the truth? Courage is critical. And courage requires actions. Have you ever thought about how many times in the scriptures actions are what matters? For example, in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus separates the sheep from the goats and he says, I was hungry, you fed me. I was naked, you clothed me. And they said, Lord, when did we see you hungry and naked or in prison and take care of you? And he said, inasmuch as you did it, inasmuch as you did it, inasmuch as you took action for one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. And then he'll say to the goats, depart from me into the fire prepared for the devil and his angels, because I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was naked and you didn't clothe me. I was sick and in prison and you didn't come to see me. And they said, Lord, when did we ever see you in this state and didn't help you? And then Jesus said, inasmuch as you did not do it. Again, action. Inasmuch as you did not do it to the least of these, my brethren, you didn't do it to me. Now maybe those goats prayed. Maybe they said, oh Lord, send food to the poor and send clothing to the naked and bless all the sick. Jesus didn't judge them about their words and their prayers. He judged them for their actions or their lack of actions. Likewise, the Apostle John, he said, if you see somebody having need of this world's goods, if you see someone and they're hungry and they're naked and you say to them and you say, go, be warmed and be filled, part of the faith movement. I just speak food and clothing into your life. He said, if you say to that person, go, be warmed and be filled, but you don't give them what they need. You don't do something about it. He said, how does the love of God dwell in you? James said, For him who knows what it is to do good, for him who knows to do good but doesn't do it, for him that's sin. In other words, when you know what the right thing to do is and you don't do it, it's sin. It's called the sin of omission, the things that we fail to do. Jesus said, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom of heaven, but those who do the will of my Father that is in heaven. Christianity is first orthodoxy, what we believe, but coupled with it, in a way that is inescapable, is orthopraxy, practicing the truth, clothing the naked, feeding the hungry, saving the man dying in the ditch. The parable of the Good Samaritan boils down to this: if you see somebody whose life is in danger, if you love them, you'll save them. If you don't love them, you walk by on the other side. And friend, this country is dying because our Christian leaders, our politicians, and dare I say it, you and I, have failed to live out our faith with action in the public arena, where truth is the most under fire. There's a day of reckoning coming for this country. And if we do perish as a nation, we will look back over our shoulders. Angels and demons will recount that it was through the failure of good people to herald the truth and to live out the truth in the public square that led to America's demise. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I've got to lighten the mood a little. I've got a comedy bit coming up for you, okay? Stay with me for the bats. I mean real bats. You see their teeth? You just got to see it. Courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees all others. Sir Winston Churchill. Welcome back, friends. Some of you know that we recently moved our studio. That's why we're building the new studio. We're outside of Washington, D.C. now, in the glorious hills that surround our nation's capital. Well, when we got here, we realized we had a bat infestation. Bats. Flying rats, okay? They're heinous. Now, I love bats because they keep down the bug population. They eat mosquitoes, but they're just hideous, okay? We called out some bat experts to get rid of them. We said, hey guys, while you're here, could we please film you and use this as a bit on our show? Well, this is what we came up with. Hope you enjoy it.
Good night, mate. We're out here in the whoop whoop. We're here together. We got the bats going to the dunny on us. I've had enough of it, so I don't like it when they're going to the dunny on us. We're gonna put some special liquid on them, see what happens. Hopefully they're gonna bail out on us. I'm gonna try to, hopefully, not gonna fall. Here, let's go get them. Mate, we're looking at some bad guana here. They go to the dunny on us. Mate, you hear that? That's bats going to the dunny on us. I'd like to introduce you to my union help here. Trusty Mike, gonna spray it on the bats. Should be right, should be right. Keep spraying. You get this? You getting this? There go the bats. Hey. Go find another place in the bush. He's now spraying the bats. She's a beauty. Don't kiss him. Hey, mate, you want me to come out and take care of your bad problem? Buns up! This man here is quality, quality. Hey, mate, you got a bat problem, give me a holler, and I'll give it a go, and I won't be hurting them none either. Ooh, that's ugly close-up. We're out here in the whoop-whoop. Good day.
Yes, that was in fact President Obama. And if you've got bats in your belfry and you need to be freed of them, President Obama, he's your man. By the way, no bats were harmed in the making of that video. I'll be right back with a word from one of our founding fathers.
In return for my love, they accuse me, even as I make prayer for them. So they reward me evil for good and hatred for my love.
Abraham Lincoln said, "The probability that we may fail in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. It shall not deter me. It is when I contemplate the cause of my country deserted by all the world beside, and I, standing up boldly and alone, and hurling defiance at her victorious oppressors, here, without contemplating consequences, before high heaven and in the face of the world, I swear eternal fidelity to the just cause." Friend, it is that type of boldness and courage that gave birth to our nation and that sustained her through the war between the states. It is that type of courage that made America a bastion of liberty and the envy of the world, the city on the hill, the place where people wanted to come and to live, to be prosperous, and to be free. It is exactly that courage that is perishing before our eyes. Let me challenge you in these closing moments. Who have you irritated? Who have you made angry? Who are your public enemies because you stood for truth in the public square? It's not enough that we talk in our safe circles. It's not even enough that we email and blog. We must take a stand in the public arena for that which is just.